Got my Red Bull, got my fidget spinner. I kind of want to just talk about what's kind of going on in my life. More so the past couple of days, trying to be more open. Feel very nervous all the time. And I feel very like closed in and like I struggle to talk about stuff. And I struggle with feelings, and that's kind of what I want to talk about real quick. Being honest, I have been smoking weed probably consistently every day pretty much for probably the past couple months, if not like past year or two. I did take a brief hiatus earlier this year, but I ultimately started again, and it's just been like every night. I tried not to do it in the day, but like if I had the day off or something, I'd do it in the daytime, and I have not done that in the past probably 3 or 4 days, and I kind of want to just talk about how I'm feeling with that. I'm also trying to cut back on caffeine. This is the first day in like 3 or 4 days that I've had a Red Bull. I had like half calf coffee this morning just so I can limit it and have this as a tasty beverage treat. And originally I was gonna try to only smoke on nights that I didn't have anything to do or work the next day, just as like a weekends only kind of thing. And it's like I watched this video that my friend sent me about this guy talking about ADHD and weed and how it like kind of affects you, and it definitely resonated. If you want to see the video, comment or something, I don't know. But he's talking about the ADHD and the craving of the dopamine and whatever. I feel like weed definitely, it slows down the thoughts, and it kind of I feel like I'm able to slow down and like focus better. I don't really know what I'm trying to say 100%. I guess I could talk about how I actually feel. I think I'm feeling a little bit of a withdrawal. I feel more anxious, and I don't know, I feel this sense of like confusion almost. Like for a while it felt like smoking kind of made me feel normal, made me feel like how I'm supposed to feel, but I don't know if that's because my brain was used to that and dependent on that, or if it's because it slowed my brain down enough that felt like it helped, regulate my scattered and racing thoughts. I don't know. But I guess right now I'm trying to make this video to try and distract myself a little bit, because I don't really want to smoke. It's one of those things that like weed doesn't make me feel good at all. It makes me feel kind of like shit, honestly. But I do it anyway just because I like it doesn't like numb me, but it makes me feel like I can like, I don't know, it's like very euphoric, and it instantly, makes you feel good. It is the activity to do to feel good. So this is probably like day 3 or 4. I was going to last night, but ultimately I didn't. And I just feel like in my life right now, it feels very like disorienting and confusing, like time period of my life. So I feel like weed almost, I want to say it acted as like a distraction. I know, I feel more like alive, I guess, and more excited to be social and do things. And, I don't feel this, I feel like when I'm smoking every day, there's just this like weight, this intense weight on me. And I don't know, it's hard to explain, I guess. But on top of that, I think what's helped me is I don't think there's two things that I ultimately wanted to talk about. It's one, I am trying to limit my weed and or quit, because I feel like I don't know if it's benefiting me in the way that I tell my subconscious tells myself that it is. And caffeine, I feel like I'm starting to realize that I don't actually like being overstimulated. I drank this latte the other day, and I don't know how many shots of espresso was in it, but I remember after drinking it, I was sitting there and I felt like every little noise I was hyper focused on every single little noise around me, and every noise sounded like 1,000 mosquitoes in my ears. And like if somebody like moved next to me, I felt like razor blades, and it was just like, I don't like that. I don't know if I'm sensitive to caffeine or if it's just like, I don't know. It got to the point where like, I don't know if I necessarily like feeling overstimulated. So like combination of that, and then, because the thing is like, I feel like what I'm feeling is that like, I feel like my memory is kind of not good right now. And I think that that's probably almost like a withdrawal, I guess. Like everything kind of feels like I feel not sober, but I am sober. Like I'm sober, but I feel very clear-headed, and I feel good in my body, and I don't feel fatigued. I don't feel like bogged down, and I feel like I feel sharp in my head, but I feel like my memory and like I just feel like kind of confused, I guess, and like disoriented, and just like a little bit more anxious. I realized that I don't know if I actually like feeling like that. So I decided to try and only drink my morning coffee, and then I work at a coffee shop, so I had to, I just drank like decaf on the first day, and I felt like I'm also seeing a lot of reels about like mental health, just like healing and whatever, like shadow work, inner child stuff. So like my algorithm is flooding me with that kind of stuff. So I'm constantly absorbing the information on like stuff like that. And what really helped me was I am a chronic overthinker. I ruminate and I spiral, and I kind of get obsessed with thinking about a thought itself, and I will spend days, weeks, months trying to almost solve a thought or like a feeling. Like if I feel a certain way, instead of just feeling that feeling, I'll try to dig to the deepest part of my psyche and my childhood or whatever and try to, find the answer. And I'm realizing now that that has never worked. And the past 2 days, I've just been kind of trying to let myself feel. So like if I feel like angry or irritated or like bored, I'll just kind of acknowledge that. Or if I feel sad or something, because negative thoughts I push away, and I don't like them. I don't like being vulnerable, and but that's not good because then it bottles up and it comes out in other ways. So every thought that I like yesterday, for example, like every single thought I had, instead of spiraling down the rabbit hole of either anger or irritation or like trying to solve it, I just kind of acknowledged that. I asked myself, how does that make me feel? And I feel like that kind of took away all of the need to think about the feeling. So like if I felt like bored, it would be like, well, why do I feel bored? How can I fix this? What can I do? What I need to I just kind of I feel bored. I feel it, and I just like let my body feel uncomfortable, and I invited that feeling in, because I feel like a lot of times if I feel like a heavy feeling, it's raining, I'll try to distract myself or try to tell myself it's not there, and ultimately that doesn't really work. So I just kind of, if I started feeling like an anxious thought or a hard thought, or like what otherwise would be an anxiety inducing thought, I kind of just I didn't think about the thought, and I didn't try to fix it, or I didn't try to, I just was like, I feel this, and like if there's a weight in my chest, or if I feel like my breath was like shallow, and I feel like anxiety goes to my shoulders, and I just kind of was like, I'll just let myself feel that feeling. And almost kind of, there's a video I saw where it was like, essentially, I'm going to do a terrible job of explaining this. Essentially, if you have like a feeling like, like you're out of breath or anxious or something like that, that is essentially like the inner child, like a 5-year-old mentality. I'm gonna butcher this, but what that feeling needs is to be acknowledged and, welcomed in, I guess, instead of I don't want you. So all of your feelings are trying to get your attention in some way. And I feel like I guess a lot of us, I'm gonna say a lot of us, but me, I tend to push away the bad feelings and try to tell myself that it's not true, or I try to, I'll do mental gymnastics, and I'll try to, I become almost delusional, trying to convince myself that I actually don't feel like that, or that it's not real. And then it sends me into like a dark place of trying to get to the bottom of why I'm feeling that way, and then I'll attribute it to something that happened. And like if I get like a trigger or something, I'll be like, well, that's the reason that I feel like that. But it doesn't really help, because I still feel like that. I'm just saying I don't want you. It's been a lot easier to, instead of trying to diagnose the feeling and trying to get to the bottom of it, just kind of like telling myself that it's okay to feel those feelings, and almost welcoming them in. Like it's okay to stay. Like if I feel anxious and I feel like I'm in, a fight or flight kind of mode, and ultimately nothing's going on. Like I'm like, if I just feel like in my head, I get like an anxious thought and I'm in like fight or flight mode or fawn or whatever, I just kind of sit with it, and I feel the uncomfortable, and I tell myself that I want these feelings to feel. I want them to stay, and I welcome them in. And this is a relatively new discovery for me. I'm not like preaching, I'm not like teaching, I'm not trying to be a teacher or anything like that. I'm just kind of talking about my personal experience. If you want any of the videos that have helped me, I have them saved in so I can send them, because I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it. So ultimately, that's what's kind of helped me, with not smoking as much and limiting my caffeine intake, is that I feel like I'm so used to feeling a certain way, like overstimulated, or like one now that I mean, I have Red Bull now, but like if I don't have caffeine and it's like 5 p.m. and I haven't had caffeine all day, like I feel almost unregulated, but I've been trying to just kind of let that be okay. Like that's not a bad thing. I don't know if I'm doing a good job of explaining this, but hopefully I'll be able to make more of these, updates and stuff. And it's like I do struggle with the ADHD. It's not a fun thing to deal with. It's not. I think sometimes it is a superpower, absolutely, but the negatives of it are really bad. Like the addictive personality, and the like, reaching for weed to almost slow that down and like, feel good, because it feels good. It feels it for the since I started smoking weed in when I was like 17 or 18, it always has felt like this is how I'm supposed to feel, because I think it kind of just regulated that, and it just made me feel so good, where like the boredom, I didn't have to be bored anymore. And like even talking about it, like it like lights up my brain, where it's like, oh man, I could go do that right now and not feel these feelings, and not feel, bored, and it's the like artificial, the quick, I can feel better instantly, but it doesn't really feel like it fixes anything. It just feels like it's a distraction. The one in the video, the dude said something that stuck with me, is that the guy said that he would smoke, and weed almost acted as a way to blame the feel, like he said it turned the anxiety, and the anxiety into a physical feeling that you can point at, essentially. So like if I smoke weed and get high, and I start, freaking out, having anxiety, having thoughts, I can be like, oh, this is just the weed. And once this wears off, I'll be fine. But it's something that I can almost point at, which I think subconsciously might be a little addicting, just because it means that I don't have to deal with what I need to be dealing with. And that's ultimately why I want to learn how to be able to feel my feelings and regulate myself, because I feel like I self-regulation has always been difficult, especially emotionally, and that's something that I'm learning as of lately. So yeah, ultimately I'm just coming on here to talk about how, just like the past couple days, it's definitely been difficult. I think it's been a lot easier to just be able to acknowledge, if I have a thought, if I have an impulse, if I have an urge, instead of just acting on it or diving into it, just kind of asking myself, how does that make me feel? And kind of just like letting myself feel that, where if I feel anxious, it's like, this sucks, but I know I can't push it away. Or if I feel sad, it's like, essentially it is almost like I'm starting to realize that emotions are kind of like, your body reacts to emotions the same way it does to being sick. So like crying and releasing those emotions is almost like breaking a fever a little bit. That's a good way that my mind kind of wrapped my head around allowing myself to feel. Like the body has mechanisms to process emotions, and I feel like for a long time I've just kind of always bottled them in, and I never really understood how to let my body, feel these feelings and be okay with feeling them and sitting with them, instead of, I've always used logic, and I've always tried to, if I feel sad, or if I feel anxious, or if I feel a certain way, I'd always try to be like, okay, how can I fix this? What is the root cause of this? What am I doing wrong that I feel like this? How can I not feel like this? Why am I not happy? And I feel like the more that I'm doing that, the more that my body is like, almost, it's a fever you can't sweat out, right? So it's like, I feel like the more I'm pushing these negative feelings aside, the more my body is holding on to them, and I feel like it's causing internal turmoil. It's causing turmoil. And again, this is like day 3 of this realization. I just wanted to ultimately talk about, my discovery, and this is the beginning of my self-discovery and getting in tune with my emotions and healing journey. But I've been through a lot emotionally past couple of years, and I think I'm starting to understand. I never knew how to let my body do the work, you know what I mean? Like, I never really sat with feelings, or I never even like labeled feelings, you know? Like it's so much easier if somebody like makes you mad or something like rubs you the wrong way, just acknowledging that I'm angry. I don't like that. That didn't make me feel good. I'm irritated. It makes it a lot easier to be like, oh, that's just a feeling, rather than I feel like for a long time I just kind of crash out and start spiraling and like having, you know, the imaginary arguments and the I'm gonna do this and I'll show them in my head, and then I don't actually do that because I'm not gonna do that. But like the mental stress and the turmoil of literally feeling the emotions of this imagination and imaginary scenarios that you come up with. It's like if somebody pisses you off, it's like, oh, I'm gonna show them, and then, you know, they get dark, you know. I the thoughts get dark. You know, I'm not gonna act on anything, but like I think my mind has never really understood how to process and feel feelings, so it just kind of creates, you know, blames things, and it tries to point at reasons for it, and it tries to. And I think I was using weed for a while, especially recently, to you know, it helped me feel stuff, and it helped me be more open to feeling things, and that's fine. But the problem is it's more so it's the question of, can I do this without it? And that's where I was like, I should probably, because then like there'd be times where I was like stressing out, tweaking out, crashing out, you know, feeling these like intense emotions of like, you know, panic and like feeling like I need to, I don't know, it's just like having like intense anxiety attacks almost, and like feeling. So I'd reach for that, and it would calm me down. It would calm me down, and it would almost like it would reset my brain, and it would reset the, you know, it would kind of, you know, that the feelings of anxiety and crashing out were over here, and then I would smoke weed, and then it became over here, right? It like separated it, and it kind of acted as like a wormhole, like a warp drive to like a different, you know, consciousness or different state of consciousness. Because for me, weed has always felt like separate from my life, like separate. Like when I smoke weed, I feel like sober me is here, and then weed me is here. Like they are two different worlds almost. So it would almost feel like I'm switching off sober me, and I'm going to, you know, high me. And it's like even now I'm drinking this, and like I feel like I definitely feel the caffeine, and I feel like it's helping me, but I don't know if I like feeling stimulated in this. It's just it's like, because the thing with weed, it's like it would make me feel like such garbage, but then it would like, it still felt like it was, you know, lighting up my brain. And it same thing with like caffeine, where it's like it's such like a that like I've been drinking caffeine for way over a decade, you know. I've had very brief periods of time where I wasn't drinking caffeine, and the times that I was off caffeine felt, I don't think I had the tools to just sit with my emotions, so I'd like be feeling like I'm all over the place, off the walls. Like I remember the first or second day that I only had my morning coffee, by, you know, like the late afternoon, it would start wearing off, and I would feel my brain start, I would get super distracted, but it wasn't like it was a distraction. Like I started getting like ideas, like creative ideas, and they would like come rapid fire, and like it got too exciting, right? But I'm at work, so it's like I can't do anything with it right now, but I kind of just using what I've learned, you know, just I feel excited. I feel good about my thoughts right now, kind of thing, you know? Instead of like, oh man, fuck, like I can't be thinking like this at work. I feel good. I feel excited. I feel bored. I feel excited. I feel, you know, tired, confused. And that's fine, because but it's like intuitively I know that I almost enjoy the way that I feel when I'm completely straight edge sober. I drink caffeine and I feel overstimulated, and it makes me feel like irritated, because it almost acts as like the, you know, puts me in such a state of stimulation. And especially at work, you know, when I work at the coffee shop, and it's like, you know, if it's a busy and it's a rush, like I'm overstimulated, I'm drinking caffeine, I got 200 milligrams of caffeine in me now, there's customers coming in, I can't, you know, I gotta do, and it's just like my body physically I start like, it's too much to handle. And the first couple days that I limited my caffeine, I felt like I was able to handle these situations better without crashing out. It would cause like crash outs, you know? And like I liked that because it even though it felt terrible in my body, it still felt like it still lit up my brain in a way that felt good. I guess the dopamine and the reward, like it gave me the like, I'm crashing the fuck out, but at least I feel it kind of, it's like it fulfills like a hole, right? Like I'm crashing out, I'm so overstimulated, but it kind of like checks off, that's all I have to worry about, right? Like I'm good, if that makes sense. I had my caffeine. Now I don't have to worry about regulation. I don't have to worry about, feeling bored. At least, I'm crashing out. I feel like shit, but at least my brain feels like it did the thing that it needed to do, if that makes sense. So now taking that away, my brain doesn't know what to do. Now I have to fill the hole with something else, right? So that's why I've been trying to like just feel my feelings. And I'm not perfect. I don't know if I'm gonna smoke weed. I don't know if I want to quit. I don't know what's gonna happen. I just know that intuitively, usually when I take time off from weed and I don't smoke weed, I feel good. I feel better. I want to go socialize and I want to go exercise and I want to do things and I feel overall better. I've tried doing like streak oriented things and that just doesn't work because it doesn't teach. I'm trying to be able to teach myself self-control and just like discipline, I guess, without, because I would do things like, okay, I'm gonna quit caffeine, I'm gonna quit weed, and I'm gonna start a days counter, a streak thing. So it's like, okay, it's been 5 days since I smoked weed, and then it gets to like, oh, I went 100 days without smoking weed, and then it's like the pressure and the regimen or whatever of it just feels like it's so punishing if I like slip up, that it creates such an anxiety. This is what happened with yoga. I was doing yoga every day. I told myself like a year and a half ago that I wanted to do yoga every day for a year. And in the app, I would do yoga every single day. And I could not break this streak. I could not break the streak. It got to the point where like I wanted to stop. I got to the year, I did it. I did 365 days of yoga. Like days where like it got to the point where like I would go have to travel somewhere and I would be like, doing the absolute bare minimum of like 4 or 5 minute yoga things in like a bathroom of a hotel just so I could, check off the streak thing. I wasn't even doing yoga anymore at that point. I was just maintaining the streak, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, where it's like that didn't teach me, discipline. That taught me punishment. If I break this streak, I'm going to punish myself because I'm a failure, right? So that's what I want to avoid. That's what always happened. Like I weaned off caffeine earlier this year and then started the streak thing. It's like if I just wanted to have like, taste the new Red Bull flavor that came out, I want to still be able to do that, but it's like the streak thing is so punishing. With like weed, it's like it's the same thing where it's like there is points where I don't even want to smoke weed. I know I'm going to smoke weed. I know I'm going to feel like shit, and then I smoke weed and then I feel like shit. And it's like, why did I do this? And like that's kind of what I have to realize. I'm losing the train of thought here. This was supposed to be like 5 minutes long. All right. All right, see you.